Assalamu alaikum. Sulman Rahim here, Master of the Covenant, breaking 7 seals. And second, bringing audience in. This is the Black Alert segment of the Fire Zone. Welcome. Brothers and sisters, Sulman Rahim here, Master of the Covenant, breaking 7 seals. Welcome. Okay, brothers and sisters, at least we forget Holocaust. The Holocaust. They've been calling this slavery. No, that's just a small portion of what happened. It was horrific. 400 years plus of absolute abject horror. Does that look like horror to you? Does it look like slavery to you? Look up the definition of slavery and see if it includes all those things: burning, killing, raping, sodomizing, castrating. See if it includes those things. Because slavery is just the capitalist economic side of it. Capitalist dream, maximum profit, minimum overhead. That was just aspect of what we went through. And this is back to Abrahamic covenant. Read it, Old Testament, New Testament. It said we both said enslavement and the captivity and affliction. So affliction was included in the slavery. They would not need to add that aspect of it. They would just say slavery. They say slavery and persecution or affliction. So let's get it straight. Okay. Let's get it straight. Something here. Not get it twisted. Holocaust. Don't let them keep calling it slavery, because it wasn't. That was just a small aspect of it, very small. It was a Holocaust. So you're trying to whitewash this thing about CRT, critical race theory. Nothing theoretical about it. Nothing theoretical about it. Nothing theoretical about it whatsoever. That's another whitewash. How downplay what they did. And they don't want their children to know what they did. Because they're such great people, such beautiful people, such God-fearing people, chosen people like they say, then why do they not want their children to know the history? Why are they downplaying it? I don't teach my children that stuff. Just teach them what happened, what you did. You're trying to pretend, right? You're some great white hope, the savior of the world, an indispensable nation. The graveyard is full of indispensable nations. And you're none of that. So you want to whitewash history to make you think that you're this shining star in the universe and this bright light shine on the hill when you're none of that. So anyway, brothers, sisters, remember, the horror costs. Let's move on. Now, let me Brothers and sisters, 1 second here. This is the new or the resurrected nation of Islam. Why do we say the resurrected nation of Islam? That's for you brothers and sisters out there that's been following this since the beginning, from the day Master Prophet Muhammad arrived on the shores of North America back in the early 20s and 30s, late 20s and 30s. And if you follow Exodus, those spiritual brothers and sisters out there, they follow Exodus, which is prophecy, then this will enlighten you about all what's going on, because that's what's happening before our eyes. It's unfolding before our eyes. Very critical that you understand that the scriptures were wrote for future history. They wrote the prophecy in advance. That's the purpose of them. That's what Elijah Muhammad taught you, those of you that follows Elijah Muhammad, right? Or sympathizers, taught you that prophecy is that scriptures are written for future history, not past history. They're trying to tell you the opposite. They're trying to tell you the things that you see in there as past. It's a lie. They're happening now. They write history. Every 25,000 years, they write history, because the earth completes a total on this axis, right? Every approximately 24 to 25,000 years. And so they write the history for that period of time. And they reveal it for the time period that is relevant up to. So in other words, like a book with many chapters. And so the chapter that refers to a particular time that's relevant, that chapter is revealed. And that gives the people a foresight on how to deal with that period of time. Foresight, not hindsight. What we need with hindsight, you need foresight. Like driving down the freeway, right, thinking that the rear view mirror is the front shield. You know what's going to happen. That's what they taught you. That's how they blinded you. That's how Farrakhan's blinding you, because he don't want you to read Exodus as happening now, because it revealed who he is. He revealed that he is Aaron, the deceiver, the liar, to have you worship the golden calf and get you destroyed in the end along with himself. That's the trick they're using, brothers and sisters. If you want to go with it, go with it. But those things happen now, they're foresight. Those of you that pay attention to what Elijah taught you, you know they're foresight. They're not things that happened in the past. Right? You have some things that's in the recent past, because the book, so-called New Testament, was real 2,000 years ago. So a lot of things started happening then up to now. So those things, at the time it was revealed, those things in the future. At the time the book was revealed 2,000 years ago, that's the so-called New Testament, the Gospels, all those things written there were in the future. So now we're 2,000 years into it. So now some of that stuff is now in the past. Some of it is past. So like chapter 20. See, that's in the past. They're telling you it's in the future. They're telling the millennials in the future. Because if you know it's in the past, and you go try to look in the past, see when did these events happen, like they're saying there. The resurrection, right? And then the throwing into the bottomless pit. Then the coming out and covering whole Gog and Magog. All these things. Those things happened 1,500 years ago. These things happened 1,500 years ago, because what it's telling you is that there was this resurrection. And that's another. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail here because I want to get to my main topic. But the resurrection, that's why it says resurrection. Resurrection is the resurrection of Abraham's Islamic empire. They don't want to tell you that, because over in the Middle East, Abraham built all that stuff. Mecca, Medina, Kaaba, he set up pilgrimage. He set all that up. But they don't want to tell you that, because if they tell you that, then you associate that with Islam, and then the game is up. And that's the fact. But they don't want to tell you that. That's the region of the world he was in, and that's why he set all that up. So Prophet Muhammad did not start Islam like they tell you. He just resurrected it, brought it back because they had descended into idolatry. And as they rose 500 years ago, their resurrection forced the European countries who was declining aspects of the Roman Empire. The Catholic Church was just an extension of the Roman Empire. It was declining, and so they pushed them into the Dark Age, in the pit, the bottomless pit, the abyss, whatever you want to call it, for 1,000 years. And we have that. We have the so-called Dark Ages, last 1,000 years, medieval, 1,000 years, right? Whatever you want to call it. That's where they was in there for 1,000 years, and they was trying to fight. Remember the Crusades? They're trying to fight their way out because the Islamic Empire had them locked in, and eventually fought their way out after 1,000 years. And what they do, they would cover the whole earth exactly like it says in chapter 20. Gog and Magog, America and Britain, they're the only two European world empires that you know about. Britain was the first world empire, and America the second world empire. Gog and Magog. And then they would, after a season, approximately 500 years, they would go and encircle the holy places. That's like I said in chapter 20. And they bring fire out of heaven in sight of men. So if heaven is beyond the sun, moon, and stars, and 12th dimension somewhere, how can they see fire come out of heaven? So fire come out of heaven in the sight of men, right? And that's what's happening over there. Because your Middle East, they got drones, the skies are dark with drones, firing hellfire missiles down the heads of the people, 24/7. And then the destruction of Gog and Magog would proceed immediately after that. That's chapter 20. Read it for yourself. So that part is past. But all other stuff, Exodus, that's Elijah came, Moses, 40-some years. He left Aaron behind. Aaron deceived the people, got the people corrupted and everything else, right? For 40-some years. Son of perdition. And when Moses returned, and Joshua, Jesus, same name, just different languages. Joshua took over. He's the one that took you back to the promised land. But he had to defeat Aaron and his followers first. They defeat him, destroyed him, and then the journey to the promised land. This is the story. Okay, so I'm going to leave that there. We're going to move on. Because we were resurrected because they said they've been falling away first. What was the falling away? Falling away was when Elijah Muhammad departed and the whole nation fell away. Just like I said, John the Baptist was beheaded because when Elijah Muhammad left, was beheaded. There was no leadership. So Farrakhan and Wallace dismounted it. There was no Nation of Islam, right? And then Farrakhan came back 3 or 4 years after in desperation because he was broke, he was busted, and he took over to exploit it. And he exploited it for 40-some years. He always talking about money for economic program. You see any economics? And getting money for that for 40-some years. You see any economics anywhere? But he's walking around in his pretty little dresses and his giant glasses and stretch limo, whatever they call it, and all these mansions. Got sisters on the street pimping his sisters, right? Doing fundraisers for him. Elijah Muhammad never put sisters on the street doing anything. So you figure it out. Anyway, so it says that Joshua, right? Jesus, same name, Suleiman, he would take and resurrect it, right? Because that would be the son, that would be the messenger of the covenant found in Malachi. So he would suddenly come to Elijah's temple. So he couldn't be Elijah if he's come to Elijah's temple. The messenger of the covenant, yeah, the messenger didn't have the messenger of the covenant. He's the one that would take him. He had to come and clean it up and get rid of all of them. So we're going to talk about some of that. But I want to talk about my main topic, scientists. So let's move on into this, brother. Bear with me, brothers, because this is new technology for me. And I get used to it. Okay, I think that's right there. Oh, let's see. This here. That's not it there. Oh, yeah, okay. Get that. Okay. 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 We're going to talk about scientists. What's this story about the scientists? We're told by, again, for you people that following Elijah Muhammad, there's these 25 scientists. And so the 25th one, that's the God himself. And let me show you this little graphic first before I go into that so you have some idea. Okay. If you can see that, that's pretty much the structure of the governing of the original nation. We talking about America, like I said, we talking about the original nation before it was America, before there was cocaine, for anything. So, and this is what the Bible supports. And it actually speaks about this in Revelation 2. We're going to talk about that in a minute. But you had this, you see here, you say, you got in the center, you got that one person. He has 360 degrees. That's the God. Then around him, he had 12 major scientists. They have varying degrees of knowledge, varying degrees of wisdom. They're very wise, but they don't have it all. They don't have 360. And then under them is the 12 minor scientists. They're gods. They're very wise. They're not as wise as the 12 major, but they have varying degrees too. So they fall in that category. These are the ones that get together and write science. These are the ones that they're the ruling. They're the rulers. Because when they write history, like I said, for every point in time that the history is revealed is for a specific time that's relevant. And then one of these come forth and reveal it. Like Gabriel came, he was one of the minor scientists. He came forth and revealed the Quran. He falls in the category of one of the 12 minor scientists. But Dr. Yaqub is one of the major scientists. He's the one that kicked off the 6,000 year period with the making of Adam. So his ideas, I mean, he didn't live the whole 6,000 years. He lived 600 years that took to bring the process, but he established it. So we under his ideas, his reality. And then for 1,000 years, they was under Gabriel's reality. But he set him up for the Quran and for that period. Okay, but 25th scientists, they say, according to Elijah Muhammad, he stays hidden. We have him for 76 trillion years. It says he stayed hidden the whole time. He's the background. Now, all this, when they write history every 25,000 years, they always have to consult to him. He has to prove it. You have to look at it and approve what they wrote. You have to go back to him and he approved what they did. But he stayed in the background until it says that he would only reveal himself in the last days, because a time of unprecedented trouble, he revealed himself. That's what it's talking about in the angel. The mystery of God will be revealed. But he's like a hermit. He just stayed in the background. Why do we do that? Well, because, see, you don't understand. See, we're not about worship. That's this KV idea, this European idea, the divinity and all that kind of stuff. That's their idea of things. That's not what we're about. Because the 25th, he's just one of our brothers. Because we're one body. I mean, the Christians, they call it like a body of Christ. We're one body. You got your head, but you don't, I mean, your head is important, your eyes important, your lips, but the point is, I mean, your feet are important too. All of it's one body. It all works together. And one part don't worship the other part. We love all of it. Anybody talking about, man, I'm going to get rid of my behind, man, is it too nasty? You see what I mean? It all fits together. So but the thing is, the difference is respect. We forget about that worship stuff is respect. Respect the supreme one because of his knowledge. Personally, that's why he stay away from you, because he don't want to be dealing. He want to live his own life. Because if he manifests something, then everybody be around him, but he'd be able to do anything. Right? He want to live his own life like everyone else. Somebody watching you, see what you're doing. I want to do what you're doing. You've been sinning and stuff like that. That's that Christian concept. That doesn't work that way. See, because nature, the way the creation is, that works itself out. Every action has opposite equal reaction. Consequence works itself out. We're not sitting and watch you. See? So he stays hidden. So he would manifest himself, and we're going to talk about that a little bit too. And then after that, it's just a normal population. And then varying degrees. I mean, some people put cells, people had cells, people have cells, whatever. But the governing body falls in the category of those 24 scientists with the 25th. And they are gods at any particular time. And Master Muhammad, he's one of the 20. He's one of the 12 major scientists. Say, why is that? Well, we know he was not the 25th because the 25th had 360 degrees. He wasn't taught 360 degrees. His father, who he's the seed of, so he took his father's position. His father had to be either one of the 12 major or 12 minor because he had to go to the other scientists to get knowledge to teach his son. Because he was a 25th scientist, he wouldn't have to ask anybody anything. So he went to the other scientists, that's what Elijah Muhammad tell you, to get knowledge from them to teach his son, so he would be able to perform his job, right? Because he would be the scientist that's going to kick off the next 6,000 years. So let me back up here for a minute. You have, I said, a 25-year period, 25,000 year period, right? Was approximately between 24 and 25,000. So it's approximately it's four seasons within that. Each is 6,000 years. So we had a spring season, 6,000 years, fall, summer season, fall, and winter. We just came through the winter season. See, Dr. Yaqub, he was the author and the god of the winter season. Now we're in the spring season. That's Master Muhammad. Master Muhammad, he's the god, right? That's kick off the spring season, and his wisdom, right, will last 6,000 years. The kingdom set up be 6,000 years, then another God will come and take to the next level. That is, he will make all things new. But there's always two gods on the scene. See, one's always hidden, he's in the background. He says he will be manifested in this time, only period of time. Now, whether he will continue to be manifest in the next season, after that, whatever, I'm not going to say, right? But the point is that that's his option. But for 76 years, he stayed in the background. And Elijah Muhammad didn't give any light on that either. It's just that he would be the one he would be here personally because of the gravity of the situation. And remember, everything has to be certified by him. All the guys, when the time come up, when they 24, they always have to check with him to make sure, right? Because he has 360 degrees before they proceed with what they're going to do. Now, okay, I always see it. We're going to move on to the graphic. Now, we've had scientists that went rogue with a couple that we know about. See, there's a couple went rogue, right? We heard about the scientist that blew the moon apart away from the Earth. He didn't agree with other scientists. He didn't agree. So he went to war. We had one before that called Fire Wars. I'm not going to go into that one. Then we had well, say some people say Yaqub was, but not really. You know, because they agreed. The scientists agreed with him because the idea of the energy deprivation. They agree with him that dirty water was better than no water because we lost power. I'm not going into details of that, brothers and sisters. We lost power to maintain civilization, so it was left to them to do it, and they would make Michigan shed blood. But dirty water is better than no water. So scientists agree with that. So we're not saying Yaqub was Elijah Muhammad never say it was evil. But when Dr. Shabazz came along 3,000 years ago, the scientists didn't agree with him. And some scientists went against him. That's how we got kicked out of Arabia. So all the scientists, I mean, they sometimes they go to war with each other. They're not all, I mean, you say, so you think of like to be in submission to the 25th, right? Well, they all in submission to the 25th because he can stop him. They know that. Well, Well, I'm going to back up on that one because Lucifer, you think Lucifer and Satan are the same person or not? See, Lucifer, right, is a minor scientist, one of the minor scientists, but he wants to be the scientist. He wants to be the 25th one. It says, I will make my throne in the far north. I'll be like the Most High. The Most High. That's why I say the Most High, because you got high ones, but the Most High is the 25th. He wanted to be the 25th scientist, and he wanted to take advantage of the situation because he was wise enough to know that we were suffering energy deprivation. He was wise to know that the 25th scientist was suffering energy deprivation more than anyone else, because energy deprivation is the result of everyone has the same amount of energy, but we went through a period where there was not enough energy for your needs, and was based on how complex your system was or is. So we being the most complex, we suffered it more than anyone else because all the energy that was here went out there. So as a result, we went into a 50,000 year energy deprivation period. 50,000 year energy deprivation period. See? And it was most acute the last 6,000 years. In fact, the last 500, 600 years have been terrible. And who would suffer the most? The original people, because they're the most complex. That's we suffer the most. And it goes down the line. Then the African people, you say we Africans, well, we are basically, but they got two tribes here. You got the Levites and you got the Shabazz. They're all out of Africa because Arabia is North Africa, right? Then you got the Hindu tribe. They suffer not as much. Then you got the Orientals. They don't suffer. And European, they suffer at all. That's why they was made, because they wouldn't suffer. Because the bottom line is, if everyone gets the same amount of energy every day, I'm not going to debate that with you. That's a fact. Everybody gets the same amount of energy every day. So if everybody gets 1,000 units, because that's the state of the universe at the time, the universe is fully expanded, so everybody gets less energy. Everybody gets 1,000 units of energy, but you require 15. You suffer energy deprivation. You don't have energy to maintain yourself. You have energy to maintain a civilization, man. You didn't maintain a family, nothing. But if you only require 500, then you got 500 units of energy that you can use to rule and use all kinds of things that you wish to use it for. So that's why Dr. Yakub built and made a stripped down version of us that require less energy. Recessive genes, he emphasized to reject recessive genes and suppress the dominant genes. That's another story, but I don't want to get sidetracked here. So, as a result, we're talking about the energy deprivation problem, right? So they got ruled. They was able to rule. See? So it's much more details than that. But I'm just talking basically. But get back to this Lucifer again. Okay. Lucifer was one of the minor scientists. Like I said, Master Muhammad was one of the major scientists. But Lucifer was one of the minor scientists. And he saw, he's something like, okay, let me get another thing here. The reason why Master Muhammad is white, like you see him, see, because we have a problem with complexion. Master Muhammad didn't say the white man is the devil. He better read the lesson. He says the Caucasian white man. Different. So we don't get hung up on skin. Because I mean, you can be black, still be a devil or a demon. Black as a star. Depends on who your father is, who makes you who you are. Stop this BS. They trying to tell you, well, one drop of black blood make you black. Might make you black, but don't make you original. You know what your father is. So Master Fra Muhammad, right? He was circumcised. He's spiritually circumcised, which means you got rid of that black skin tone. But that's what scripture tells you. If you're circumcised, you'll be successful. To make him successful, he wouldn't suffer energy deprivation. See? So he could do his job. Because he'd be the God that set this thing up, make all things new. But Lucifer is similar. His mother's Caucasian too. He didn't get fully circumcised, but he still got dark skin, but he's still the same like it because his father's original, but his mother's Caucasian, so right? So he doesn't suffer energy deprivation either. And so he knew that the God, the 25th, would be suffering energy deprivation because he's the most complex of all. He would suffer more than anybody. That's why I say, Son of Man, he suffered many things, put to death and everything. See, more than anybody. I say they say he suffered the sins of the world. Was really stuff because, well, anyway, they translate a little badly. But the thing is, you get the idea. They suffer more than anybody because he's the most complex. So Lucifer thought he'd take advantage of that situation. It's my time. I can step up. I'm more powerful. I can take him down. I can sit on his throne. I'm gonna set my throne up on the far north. I'll be like the most high. But you see, you got all this divinity thing, you got all this spook stuff, angels flying around, running in the universe to another, right? And with wings and all that kind of stuff. So it's hard to kind of get this to you because you're not down to earth. See? Because the point is there's no spiritual realm. We personify everything, right? The devils are real people. Demons are real people. Who are demons? Demons are devils with black skin. They're followers of devils. See? So they're what their father is, but they got black skin, but they got other than white skin, what other than the Caucasian skin. Because demon could be, you got demons all over the world. So they wouldn't spread all over the world, right? Raping and whatever they was doing. So in China, so you got demons over there, right? The devils with yellow skin, right? Asia, devils with black, brown skin. We got the worst because they raped incessantly, unrelentlessly, unrestrained for 400 years. And so as a result, half of the black people in America are demons. Half of them. That's what it says. And we can prove it. Even Master Muhammad knew that because he knew that's the case would be when time came for us to get out of here. Because he said there'd be 17 million original people, but there were not even 17 million original people back there at the time he was talking about. He was prophesizing. There were not 17 million people, black people in America back then, 20s and 30s. Look at the census. But now there is 17 million original people. There's also 17 million demons. Okay. So it's Lucifer person. Some of you are gonna have big problems with this. See, right? See, once I say the name, all of a sudden, oh man. But that's the thing. See, Satan is not Satan's not a god. He's not one of the scientists. He is a scientist, but he's not one of those scientists. We're gonna talk about that in a minute too. But I'm not even gonna mention name because if I do that, then I'm gonna talk at the end. But this person, that's Lucifer. He's not Satan. See, he's original. But he won't take advantage of the situation because he knows. See, because and that Satan tried to do the same thing. Because remember, he confronted Jesus in the desert, tried to talk him into. Hey, he rolled up on Jesus, right? Said, "Hey, man, if you give me some props, man, I control all the nations." He didn't say I control all nations except America. Did he say that? I control all of them, Sunni of them, Hindu, all of them. And all you gotta do is give me some props, right? And I'll hook you up. That's what went down. But he's not a scientist. I mean, he is a scientist. He's not one of those scientists I was telling you about, of the 25. That's a whole new group of scientists I'm going to talk about in a minute. So I'm not going to identify this person who led because you know him. Very popular person. You're going to hear about him because it talks about him in Revelation. He went out conquer and to conquer. That means he made 2 conquests. He's already made the first one. He's about to make the second one. So he's going to war with us too. So I'm going to hold him on the back burner for a little while. So you have these scientists. And it says that this 5th one, 25th one, It says he wouldn't be revealed until the seventh angel trumpeted. It says that's when the mystery of God would be revealed. What mystery? I think they know who God is and everything, but it said the mystery will not be revealed until the seventh angel trumpet. Unless you broke the seals, you wouldn't have no idea what that means. Have you broken the seals? Do you know anyone has broken seals or claim that can prove it? Because I've broken it and I can prove it. Those who are studying know it's the truth. See? Because mathematics is mathematics. If you argue with mathematics, you're really a fool. Anyway, so it's seventh trumpet's about to blow. And so he's going to be revealed. See? And then you're going to know who he is. And I said there'd be two. Because no matter what, science always know who he is. But they always have to check with him to certify what they're doing is okay. Because you see this in the situation in the angel, right? Where it says angel. Master Muhammad is the God. He's Michael to deliver us, but he only do what with the lamb. He does what the lamb tell him to do. He only takes the people the lamb certifies. He said in the book, in the lamb's book. And those who study angel, they have some idea what I'm talking about. He don't just take people. He takes the one in the lamb's book because he has to check to be certified. You see the same thing in the Ancient of Days, don't you? Who's the Ancient of Days? Who's sitting on that throne? All the thrones be cast down. See, the thrones cast down. That's the Nation of Islam. That's another war because it's Suleiman or Jesus who go to war with. That was the first war with them. But he said when the thrones are cast down, he said, and then what happens? Then he says, the one like the Son of Man. That means, right? And he's Son of Man. One like the Son of Man. That Master Muhammad comes to him from the skies, from the heavens, right? And then what? The Ancient of Days give him the kingdom. He has to give it to him. He says he give it to him. So because they always have to check back with the God. They do anything. Except in the case of the ones that rebel, like Lucifer, for instance. Because he thought you'd take advantage of the situation. Think about it. But like I said, Master Muhammad, he's the God on this scene. So in other words, in a different period of time, the God, he's God of the spring. The God of the summer will be another one. There'll be another scientist set up. The scientist that's most appropriate, right? The most knowledgeable at that period of time, that's the one that stands up, and that's the one that's God that period. Like I said, they have different varying degrees of wisdom, just knowledge. And for this period of time, Master Muhammad was the most qualified, right? Especially because his father knew, and plus he knew exactly what to do. And when they talked about it, everybody had different opinions of what to do. And the opinion of Master Muhammad's father, that was one that was accepted by the 25th scientist. And said, okay, that's the best one. We'll go with that one. But they had all kinds of ways to deal with the situation. So let's talk about these other scientists. Now, these scientists were kept under control. See, in other words, what Dr. Yakub did, he created a new reality that didn't exist before. It's similar in a way to gender wars, because what he did is there's a lot of inner science to it. What he did is like in the gender wars, you had one being that was both genders, and you get indication that in Adam and Eve because where did Eve came out of Adam, so he must have had both aspects in him. But they try to say it was a rib. But the point is, you have to ask yourself a lot of questions, don't you? Because if God made him and didn't make no women anything, what was his body like? His body create to deal with a woman when there was no women or no idea of a woman or whatever. You understand what I'm saying? And they ain't saying anything about he changed his body. But think about that one. So in gender wars, they separated two, right? Male and the female. And this gets into evolution. I really don't want to go too deep into this, but But I said, when you get to talking, I could talk for hours on every point I'm talking about here. But the universe expands, the universe contracts, expands like a heartbeat. It's been doing it forever. We'll continue to do it. It will never stop, never started. It's always been doing it. But when it's contracting, that's in its pressure phase. Because pressure, when it's contracting, that means pressure builds, pressure builds. And we love pressure. Pressure just transfers and transforms us to diamonds. But in the expansion stage, it goes to tension, which is opposite pressure. So it's from pressure towards tension. Now, KV, right, adversary, Satan, Yaku's creation, it was made in the maximum tension phase. See, we existed in the maximum pressure phase. So pressure, we love pressure, who's the best. See, the more pressure, because more, see, we suffered when it got to the maximum tension because we're creatures of pressure. The more pressure we go, the better we get. But they're creatures of tension. So as you start contracting again, that pressure is against them. And right now they're feeling it. And it's crushing them. That's that little stone in Daniel will crush all the nations. They're feeling it because they was created in maximum tension, and we existed in maximum pressure. And so pressure in the universe contracting, it makes us stronger and stronger and stronger. It crushes them. So understanding that, it was that idea that made Dr. Yakub what he did, right? But what he did, but see, at that point, okay, let me put it this way, get back to evolution again. As universe tension, you take a rubber band, you pull it, and you stretch it, and you get more tension in it, because when you pull it, you put tension in it. The more tension it gets, after a while, it breaks. When it breaks, then it relaxes back again. So the point of max tension, that's like maximum dissatisfaction. Then it breaks, then it relaxes. But now it's two parts. So at first it breaks off a little part. Next time it breaks off a bigger part. This time it breaks off a bigger part. So eventually, right, the tension gets so great because the tension pulls it, because it's you pulling it, it breaks, and then it relaxes, then you pull some more, stop pulling it again. So you first expands, right? That's what we do. So to break the tension, we bring something to creation. To break the tension. So no, we bring attribute out of ourselves. Small attribute like a microbe or something. And then everything like then more complex. Right? Then you get the plant life. You get insect life. Then you get the plant life. Right? I mean, fish life. Right? Mammal. See? And it gets more complex until you get down to near the end, and you all separate almost to two. You break someone like you, mankind. See, he's like you. It says that form of godliness without the substance or the power thereof. That means he has our form, but not our substance. Make mission shed blood. See, so in other words, we divide in half. So we're not quite in half. So in other words, now we create another being. That's why it says we rise. Christ says we raise up a man, a being on earth that will speak to you. So but it would be something like us, but less than us. That's the way evolution works. That's what they call evolution. But see, the reason why they don't get it, because what I just said, that'd be archaeological proof. Because you go back and see the oldest thing out there was microbes. And then you look around and see, hey man, look, we'll start microbes, and all of a sudden you got man. See, and that's the archaeological. But the point they miss is that we was here all the time. It was just coming out of us. That's the part they miss. See? Because just if you look at archaeological record, then what they say is evolution is right, but they can't prove that. That's why it's called theory, because they can't see how they say it looks like that archaeologically, but they can't prove how it actually happened. How could microbes turn to plants and so forth? Anyway. So as a result, that was part of what Yaakov did. Because we have two, that's what everything is in pairs. So it's like we brought in gender to male and female. We did the same thing. So we had spatial mind and technical mind. Spatial mind, analytical mind. We separate the two. So now you have for people that's highly spatial, the creative side, that's us. And then the technical side was them. See? But technical side can't do anything without the spatial side. Analytical side cannot do anything on the spatial side. It needs blueprints and everything else. But it's highly technical. That's the analytical side. Analytical side is evil by nature because it just does this thing. It needs a spatial to keep it under control, and we kept it under control when it was one being all the time. We was just, and we kept the technical side under control. But now it's unbound and it's doing its thing. And so let's go back to the gender wars again. Once this separation took place, right? Now you had the male, you had the female, right? But you had some males that was 100% male, 100%. And some females, 100% female. So they didn't communicate with anybody. They communicate. So we had to get rid of them. They couldn't communicate. So the ones that like 50% male, 90% male, 10% female, and the same thing was 9% male, female, and 10% female. One was 90% male, 10% female. One was 9% female, 10% male. They communicate with each other because they had that connection. That's why you say men have breasts. They don't need them. We still have female aspects to us, but that allows us to communicate with the female. It allows the female. You have some females, some are really tomboys, but they relate to us. You have the same thing because once it happened, you got this extremely spatial, have no technical concept. 100% spatial, 100% technical, and that's the Europeans. 100% technical. They have no connection to spatial. That means they totally. They have no sense of consequence, whatever. Totally technical. It's very dangerous. Very technical, though. Then you got the spatial. There's these Negro butts out here that they so in religion, right? Jesus gonna take care of everything. It's so spatial. They right and basic sense, but there's no. But nothing happens with that type of knowledge because you can't build anything. You're sitting right, because it's some wisdom in that saying, but it doesn't create anything. See? So both have to go, but they can't communicate with each other. One just take control of everything, but it has no spatial, has no blueprint what to do because it needs a spatial, right, to bring things in creation. 1 second. Hold on for a minute, brothers and sisters. Quick little adjustment here. Okay, I'm good. That gets back to another thing too. Well, I'm gonna take a little segue here on this one. I need to make a note because I lose my thing here. The Europeans, they had 6,000 years history. 5,500 years. Think about this. I'm not telling you what to think. We don't tell you what to think. It is the information. 5,500 years of their history. It was horse and buggy. Horse and buggy. Right? And then when they bring us over here to create for us creativity, all of a sudden, bam, hell breaks loose. All of a sudden, all this creativity. And it's only coming from here. It's not coming from Europe. It's not coming from Britain. It's not coming from France. It's not coming from Germany. It's not coming from Russia. It's not coming from China. All the creativity, innovations come from here. Period. Now, what does that mean? Is that a coincidence? It's all coming from here. Once they brought us here. You think about that one. I'll tell you a lot more about that. That's a little secret they're hiding from you. Because even now, where's all innovation and creativity coming from? It's not coming from Germany, not coming from France, not coming from China. China is just all kind of just rips off. It just steals all the innovation America has. It's not coming from those places. It's coming from here. Planes, trains, electricity, bombs, internet, computers, all come from here. So it didn't happen until they brought the creators over here. I don't know if you saw a movie, Hidden Figures. They didn't tell you the whole story about that. There was some brothers mixed up in there too. They don't want you. They can't show them. They just can't bear it. So that their brothers telling white men what what's what. Well, sisters, they didn't have the education. No education those white guys did. But they was teaching them mathematics. Tell them how to use your own mathematics. But think about that one. Anyway, let me back up here. So you got the technical and you got the that was the result of Dr. Yakub's result, bringing them to existence. They brought a new reality in that was never existed before. And that reality was we were under control of it. Now the reality is over now. And we're we're in the spring what do you call it? Spring thaw, because we're under Master Muhammad's rule now. You realize that pretty soon. But so they was under their reality. Now their reality was similar to ours. And they're the technical side, with spatial side. They had scientists too. But see, our scientists was able to keep their scientists under control. And Gabriel was the last one to do it. That's what put them in the dark ages for 1,000 years. Because of the battle between the scientists. Their scientists and our scientists. Our science was getting weaker and weaker because of energy deprivation. And finally, they was weak enough, right? And many went to hiding. And therefore, now their scientists was able to prevail. And that's what happened, right? Because before that, after Gabriel, after Islamic Empire, after 1,000 years, right? All of a sudden you had a burst of mathematics. Newton, Leibniz, all these people, birth of mathematics. See, first I talked about discipline, because they went back to the discipline that gave them power. I talked about power in a previous presentation. But they added that with math, because their scientists arose and gave them mathematics. Didn't have it before. Not like this. Their scientists had some little mathematics here. Nothing on this level. Because they was suppressed. See? And so when their scientists came on board online, Newton and all those people, right, online, then they changed the world. They was able to do every religion on the planet, because all that religions, none of them was mathematically based. It was all lies. It was all philosophies. Every one of them. Every one was a fake, right? But they tell you, oh, no. If they true, how come they can't bring anything to creation based on those spiritual or religious principles that they tell you about? See? Only science, only religion that can bring something into existence based on its principles is mathematics. Because everything you see is mathematics based. Everything. There's no exception. Even you, DNA and everything, that's all mathematics. But you can't bring in a Hindu bomb. You can't bring in a Buddhist airplane. You can't bring in a Christian fuel, because they're just philosophies. Just philosophies, that's all they are, philosophies. But they tell you they're real. And the reason why they do that, right, because they want to tell you about some mystery God somewhere who they are the vicegerents of, right? So therefore, you have to listen to them because they're standing for God, so they have control of you. But when mathematics came on the scene, it crushed every one of them. When the Europeans came on the scene, when their scientists emerged, they crushed every religion on the planet, every one of them, Sunnis, all of them. None could stand up against it, not one. And their mathematics is basic mathematics, believe me. Their mathematics is very simple. It's like, compared to our mathematics, it's like just add subtraction. But it's better than what they had, because it's better than anybody, mathematics anyone else had. They're scientists. But now our scientists, Master Muhammad has emerged. He's emerged with superior science. They tell you right now, see these little planes they see them flying around, they can't understand how they work. See, That's basic. It's basic. The math that goes behind that is basic, but they can't comprehend it. They can't. They say can't touch it. They can't say how these things do what they do. They have no wings, right? And they take off at super speeds. They go through water super speeds, but they can't imagine anything like that. Right? Like there's no resistance whatsoever. Like inertial force has no play on them. They can understand it. They tell you that they are finally admitting it, and they're going to all their nuclear sites and they're disabling them because they ain't gonna be a nuclear war, bro. Since there will not be a nuclear war, America will be nuked, but it won't be a nuclear war. It's the difference between being in a fight with both of you slugging it out and one where one's just taking an ass whooping. See, they ain't a fight. That's just a beat down. America will be beat down when they go to pull that plug. When they go to pull the trigger, they're gonna find duds. It's not gonna be a nuclear war. God's not gonna let his planet be destroyed. He's gonna make all things new, and he's not gonna. The promised land is not gonna have it irradiated, destroyed. What kind of promise is that? So I covered pretty much the things I want to talk about. So I want you to understand this science. See, it did mock all that kind of stuff. You understand that was a system. System is telling you the name. Ocracy means like a government, a ruling system. The demon is short for demon. Democracy. And demons are devils. It's a system, right? For, by, and demons and devils. That's not a system that we developed. See, that's their system. That's their system. And now you see it's falling. It's in chaos. They got a senile man run it. He's not running. I don't know what he's doing. Right? The whole thing's clapping. All this political turmoil and everything else. Because it can, okay. Thought is pressure. I'm not going into details. I'm just going to say simply take force, move anything. If you know about anything that moves out force, let me know. I'll shut up. Prove it to me. I'll shut up. But force, pressure, the same thing is just pressure, force spread out. And so to move your arm, you have to, it must be force. So thought must be force. Thought is force. Force pressure. And so 25th scientist, he has most powerful thought is, so he has the greatest, and pressure goes in one direction. High pressure overcomes low pressure. Only problem is he was energy deprivation. So he had no power. The original nation got to the point where no power, and he had no power at all because he was the most complex. But now he come into existence. Now he started gaining power because it tells you that that's where idea of Christ, Antichrist, and the Christ, because that's no story together. Because we was always negative up until 1948, where it became zero. In other words, we wasn't some energy deprivation anymore, but we didn't have any power either. Enough energy to maintain ourselves. So now we had zero. What was it? Negative. But zero, right? Mathematically, if you produce something at zero, in other words, if you have no money and you go to the bank and get $1,000, that means you owe $1,000. So you got a negative, you got a debt of $1,000, that's negative. Yeah. So in other words, the more you get, the more debt you have. That's the balance because you don't have anything. If you didn't have, once you didn't have anything, right? You got something, now you got a debt. So it's always equal. So when you pay a debt off, then you're back to zero again. You understand? That's where it was. So we got to zero in 1948. That's where the concept of Christ, Antichrist. So that means that Christ came into existence, and as a result, the Antichrist. Antichrist is false Israel over there, right? But both came into existence in 1948. That's how you know what Christ is. It came into existence in 1948. But now the energy is increasing, right? In other words, if you go to the bank, you got $1,000, and you borrow $1,000, right? You may be $1,000 in debt, right? But you got $1,000. You got $2,000 now, right? So if you pay $1,000, you still got $1,000. So you see what I'm saying? So you get positive, and the negative is fading. So you don't have to even deal with the bank anymore. The bank lose power over you because they don't have to borrow any money from the bank anymore. At zero, you got to borrow. If you want to live, you got to borrow money from the bank. So now you don't need to borrow money from the bank because you got, the more money you get, the less you have to deal with the bank. I hope you understand that. That's a kind of oversimplification. I hope you understand the idea. So as we energizing, right, the Christ is getting more powerful, and the Antichrist is getting weaker and weaker and weaker. But at zero, they're both equal. So in other words, everything that the Christ does, the Antichrist is going to neutralize it. Our nature. And during that time, anybody at that time with zero, everyone had an anti. All original people had anti. Not the Caucasian, because remember, they're not suffering energy deprivation. We had anti. See, most of them demons or whatever. So in other words, everything you was trying to do, they would neutralize it. You had bad luck before, it was just negative. So now you don't have bad luck, but every time you try to do something positive, you got somebody you marry or whatever, they smell everything you do. So I'm gonna leave that there. I'm just trying to get you to understand about how these scientists, that's not ruling. Because it tells you, they say, dictate. Well, it tells you, Jesus or Suleiman, whatever, he wouldn't be a president. He'd be a prime minister. He'd be a king of kings, lords of lords. He ruled forever, and you don't vote on him, and you do what he tell you to do. Or you get destroyed. But see, that's where they understand it. But see, that's why he handpicks. That's why they don't leave it to the God of the season. And that's from Muhammad's God of the season. They don't even leave him to pick. The only one they're allowed to pick is Suleiman himself, right? Because his kingdom, right? That's Muhammad setting it up. He's allowed to set up, right? This beginning, all things new, but it's truly God's kingdom, because that's going to last forever, right? So he makes sure that's perfect from the very beginning. That'll say you have to be in Lamb's Book of Life, you have to be 100%, 100%, not 99.9, not 99.99999, no, 100%. Or you will not be, because you're going to make it, then if there's any flaw, it's going to show up and the whole thing's going to collapse at some point in time. Maybe 1,000, 10,000, 20,000 years. The flaw gets bigger and bigger, like termites, right? Eventually, you got one termite bunch in the next thing, the house going to collapse. So, Suleiman will make sure that's why it says, in the Lamb's Book of Life, you see the 140,000, they was out blemished. There was no blemish in them. It was perfect. He makes sure nobody goes in that book except they're 100%. 100%, not 99.9. See? And the only mercy in there is that the tribulation period. Because some of us won't meet that specification. Some of us meet the specification up to 99.9. That will not acceptable. So you go tribulation, put you back in the furnace again. You take the gold, you look at it, it's 100%, you pull it out. Oh, 99.9, well, yeah, I got to put it back in there a while. I only want 100% gold, period. 100% gold, 100% silver. They said some had to go through the tribulation period and to finish the purification process. You don't want to go through that. That's when the furnace will be really hot. Because we're going to be snatched, the pure gold will be snatched out of the furnace and delivered by Master Prophet Muhammad. But it's got to be certified by the Lamb. You have to be in his book of life. That's a warning. See? Because you got some people, they don't understand. I've had people come and go over the years. And eventually, they cast by the wayside. They couldn't make it. They just couldn't understand. It says, if you love your mother and your father and all that before, then you're not worthy. It says that. You love them more. You're not worthy. You got to forsake everything. So, in a more specific, maybe I'll go there. There's someone that recognizes Suleiman or recognizes the Lamb, right? And they join on, because he's not asking anybody to join him. You don't see him asking anybody to join him. I haven't asked anybody to join me in anything. That many be called is not being asked you to join. Like giving you a ring, hey, what's happening? Waking you up. They ain't telling you to come in and join anything. You wake up call. You decide what you want to do with it. So you say, hey man, okay, I want to, and then by and by, oh man, you don't come back because you got a flaw. You ain't coming back. You might go to tribulation, but you ain't getting back in. You ain't getting back in the book. And then you got some people who they're in, they feel sorry for the person that's out, and they run up on them. They're out too, but then you still got a flaw. So if you're dealing with people that's against this message, people that heard the message and rejected it or turned away from it, come around and play games, and you did, then you have a flaw, and you're not gonna be accepted. I'm just telling you right up. I'm telling you right from this jump. Because for all the Farrakhan's folks, all those people, all Elijah's people, they all going through tribulation. Because they got that flaw falling from Farrakhan after all the things Elijah Muhammad taught. There's no in the world you could fall for that fool, that lying dog, after reading the lesson and everything. Because let's tell you right there, he's telling you right there, he's telling you to your face that Elijah Muhammad and Master Muhammad's liars and fools. But he said we ain't going nowhere. And the whole reason why Master Muhammad came here is that it reminds us of the covenant that tells us it's certified that he's going to fulfill it. And that he raised Elijah Muhammad to teach us and prepare us for some years. Prepare us for the message of the covenant who's going to take us back home. And he's saying, you ain't going nowhere. And if Abrahamic covenant says that's the whole thing, it says after affliction, everything, the chastisement will take place, and then we will return home. But he said, we ain't going nowhere. And you better get, you read the Abrahamic covenant again. 1619 and 2019, 40 years. After that will be a plague that will kill the firstborn, that will be elderly. And pass over us. Exactly what happened. 2020 came in just like that. Exactly. And it's killing elderly. It's not, they lied to you saying what's killing us. Go check the World Health Organization, WHO. Google it. Right? And they said this year, right, that they couldn't understand why this plague was not affecting Black Africa, why it's not affecting Haiti, or any place that blacks control and live. Then you'll hear him talking about we drop like flies and what do you? They drop that lie because it's not happening. But they know what it meant. So everything changed since 2020. Now they want to be nice to you. Someone want to get rid of you. CRT, all this stuff popped up because now they're nervous because they know what that meant. And that was the first of 10 plagues. That's the first one. Now there's 9 more, which is about to take place in a few more days. Right? That's the 9th place. That's the war of Armageddon. Right? That's going to be started in the Middle East by Master Muhammad. He's going to ignite it. And that war in the Middle East will ignite Armageddon. And that'll be the 9 plagues that talk about in Exodus. Hope you understand, brothers and sisters. See? I think I covered pretty much. I mean, there's a lot more detail I can go into here. Right? We're talking about those scientists. That's our government, our structure. It's all about pressure. I told you about this Lucifer. I'm not gonna really name them, right? So those of you who study angel probably know what I'm talking about. But I tell you right away, your head will bust. Some of you. That's where we are, brothers and sisters. All scientists, both major, both minor, and the God Himself. He's like I say, He stays in the background. That's why Muhammad is the God. Yaqub was the God that kicked off 6,000 years. Winter season. That's why Muhammad's kicking off. He won't live the whole 6,000 years. Muhammad said he lived about 400 years. He's kicking off spring season, 6,000 years. And there'll be minor gods that step forward during a period of time. A major one. But that usually doesn't happen. But the 25th one, he's always present. The prevailing God at that time, always knows who he is. They check with him. And you're going to know in 3 more days, then he'll be revealed. So when the seventh trumpet blows, then the mystery of God will be revealed. But you had the wrong ideas about what God is, worshiping divine, halos around his head, all this stuff, walking on water. Brothers and sisters, you better read Hebrews 7, Melchizedek. That don't get you nothing real. But it makes it very clear that God is a man. It said it. Emphatically. God is a man. Melchizedek is a man. But they don't want to talk about that one. I believe I covered pretty much everything I want to cover. But anything else I need to I missed? These scientists, right? It's their seed that pass on. So I mean, they don't live forever, but their seed, right? Just like Master Prophet Muhammad, he's his father's son. Like the seed of the 25th, that's the seed that passed down all through history. It's always there. It's passed down. They try to tell you, they're trying to distort all of that information. I hope you understand, brothers and sisters. Again, this is the Resurrected Nation of Islam. I want you to forget about the Holocaust. They're trying to get you to forget, downplay it, whitewash it. Holocaust. That's what it was. See, and with CRT, you see they're doing, brothers and sisters? They're going down. They can't handle the pressure's too great for them. Well, that's what I wanted to say. And I took a second here. When you read an angel, I said they have similar makeup. I mean, you could say they have 24 signs, whatever. That angel says, because when you look, it said those 24 elders, those are not our scientists. Guys, Muhammad thought they was our scientists. No, they're not. They're their scientists. See, because he didn't break the seal, so he didn't. I mean, I ain't taking anything from him. I'm not gonna try to put down the messenger to lift myself up, because he was a great man. He is a great man. I love him. I'm not trying to put him down. He made mistakes. He said unless he got things nearly correct. He didn't break the seal, so he was guessing. But you see on the throne there, you see there's someone on the throne. And he has this book. And 24 elders are bowing down towards him. That's Satan. That's false Israel. And they had the best science in the world. See? They say Newton was it. Maybe they got Einstein. You know, it was so-called Jewish scientists that gave him an atomic bomb. Most of them were Oppenheimer, all those guys, right? Robert Oppenheimer. It was the best scientist. Remember I told you. But on the throne, he has this book that no one in heavens or earth, under earth, could figure it out. So wait a minute, hold it. If he's on the throne, wasn't he in the earth or under earth or above the earth? That means in one of those places. So he couldn't figure it out either. So how in the world could he not figure out the book that you claim he wrote? He said this book, he's a God. He got a book, he don't know what it means. He can't figure it out. But he wrote the book according to you. And all the angels are bowing down towards him. Because it's not God, it's Satan. And Satan is not a God. He's a scientist, but not a God. He's one of their scientists. He's their chief scientist. Or the technicians. That's the analytical side. See? That's why I said the Lamb, remember, no one could do it better. None of them. Nobody. None of the science, anybody. He's the only one could go and get that. He took that book, and he's the only one who could figure it out. Think about that one. See? That's the one sitting on the throne. That's the one you worshiping. because he's the God of this world. This 500-year period. It's a technical world. It's not a spatial world, it's a technical world. They're using our spatial ability to fuel it. That's why they keep us over here. They don't want us. But now, see, that's hiding you. They hide your creative ability that's fueling all this. Look at your music. Just take that for example. What music is fueling the world? Is it Chinese music, Arabic music, Hindu music, Buddhist music, or is it your music? That the demons got a hold to and corrupted it, but it still came from you. And it came in 50-year intervals. First was blues, 1860s. 50 years later, jazz. Right? It was reflected your mood. 50 years later, Motown sound. And now 50 years now, a new sound's about to come out because you're about to break free, totally free. Because in the first one, you broke it meant your physical chains. That's first you broke your physical chains, right? In the 1860s. You had the blues. You know what to do. You had no money. You had no language. You had no food. You had no clothes. They throw you off in a ditch. Man, to get off the farm. You ain't work for me no more. You ain't so you had nothing. You had the blues. Then 50 years later, right? Then you got jazzy. Because people start talking about Afrocentric. You got Martin Luther, you got Noble Ali, Marcus Garvey, Elijah Muhammad. Start getting jazzy. See? 50 years later, Motown sound. Right? See? Because you start thinking, see, you start thinking, you start getting your mind start getting restored back in the 20s. Because you hadn't allowed anything. Then you start getting some history and stuff like that, you know, the Moors movement, all that kind of stuff, right? And then 50 years later, right, Motown sound. Now you want now you broke your physical change and you start breaking your mental change. Now you start breaking your social change because now you want integration and so civil rights and separation, right? And then you have everybody's I'm black and I'm proud. Even James Brown got an afro and everything. You see, music changed and our spirit changed. And now, right now, you see another spirit coming. And this is real dramatic because you got the two groups here. You got the demons and the saints. You got the original people and the devil seed, chaff and the wheat, the wool and sheep clothing. They look like us and everything else, but look how violent they're beginning. Look how violent they get because they want it all. They want to take it. They want to get closer and closer to Master. They tried first, they sharecropping, they got close, right? They stayed with Master. Then next stage, right? They Eurocentric, right? Let's think European. Let's be more like white people. Let's do the brown bag test, all that kind of stuff, right? And then integration next, closer and closer, Master. They want to be back with their people. They love America. They love all this system because it's made for them. This democracy and everything is made for them, by them, for you know. And so now we're gonna have real separation. We're going home and they stand here. But when they stay here, they want to take it all. See, violent. They want to wait anymore. They want it. They want to take America. See, that's getting violent. Black slapping. They're getting violent. You see how violent they are in the streets now? And it's so Supreme Court type thing or anything else. They're going to get very violent. That's called a locust plague in AL-INJIL. Locust plague. 5 months. There's going to be a civil war in America between them. You can have the race war too. In the background. That's part of it. But that's not a race war between them because they both the same race. It's black. It's the same race. That's not a race war. But you're going to have a race war in America. There's other races outside that's stuck here. That's stuck here. But because demons and devils, they're the same race. Same skin tone. They're going to try to take this country. But we're going. We won't be here when all that happens. Unless you got left behind in tribulation. Hope you understand, brothers and sisters. I'm trying to outline how these things happen. And I'm finally going to leave you with this, right? Abomination of desolation, what's that all about? They don't tell you. See? But it says, when you see Jerusalem, and that's what I'm telling you now, because you're going to see it in a few days, we see this war with Ukraine and Russia, that falls in the category of wars and rumors of wars. That is not Armageddon, like Farrakhan telling you, he don't know what he's telling. He pulled crap out of his ass and talking about call it honey. No, it's not. You know it's going to spread? No. You get CNN for that. No, not the case. The case is that the war, Armageddon, is a European war. Like World War III, so to speak. Because World War II is European war. World War I is European war. Right? Aside from the fact that it's a Japanese thing. But this is going to be total. That's Armageddon. The nine plagues talking about. That's all around European, Russia, Japan. Hold on. I'm not going into details about that. The thing is that it's going to be ignited in the Middle East. That's going to kick it off. That's that war in heaven with Michael and his angels fighting against dragons and angels. That's going to kick it off. But in that process, false Israel, who claim it's true seed Abraham, and they claim we Ham that we not. We got cursed black by Noah and all that kind of stuff, right? But we the true seed Abraham. That's why he set them up to begin with. It says when you see Jerusalem surrounded by armies, just keep this in mind, brothers and sisters, because you're not going to pay attention to it now, but at least you have it on your mind. Because like, a deer caught in headlights, see, mind doesn't know fear, but the heart does. And so when you got an extreme fear, most of our people operate on a heart level, a heart zone. They ain't operating on the mind. Because if you was, you wouldn't step in any religions, because no religion is based on the mind zone, not one of them. Because the mind will not accept it because it doesn't add up. They can't do any math on it. They don't, so it don't add up. So they have to appeal to the heart. Like you go to church, and you see your music and everything else, they appeal to the heart. See? So a lot of people, because I'm not talking about going to Negro butts and stuff. Most people are Negro butts, right? Program for self-destruct, program not to think, program to do whatever master tell them to do, so forth, so on. Negro butts. Anyway, so so you're operating on the heart level. And so like again, the deer in the headlights, right? So when your heart and the fear starts beating everything, then it listens to the mind. Right now, your mind, you're in a Negro, but your mind's been shut off. You've been told not to think, not to listen to stuff. It's almost none of that stuff, right? You've been taught. Plus, Negro butts produce Negro butts. So mom and dad, right? They produce you and another Negro butt. They Negro butts. So it keeps the cycle going. So you don't apply thinking and proof and none of that stuff to your religion. You won't do it because you won't be in it very long. But it's built to the heart. So what happens is that when the heart is in fear, great fear, then it asks the mind what to do. Then it obeys the mind. What to do? Because it don't know what to do. Heart don't know what to do. It's just scared. And that's when the mind takes over. But if the mind don't know, then they're standing and get run over like a deer in a headlight. Calls to the mind what to do, the mind don't know. That's why I'm telling you these things, brothers and sisters. So you keep it in mind, just keep back there, because this is going to happen to you in a minute. Then you'll know what to do. But you about to, it says, when they take false Israel down, they're talking about those witnesses and Farrakhan talking about that's him and Elijah. That's bullshit. That boy is sick, right? But when they take down false Israel, remember, because false Israel cannot be taken down if they true treat Abraham. Once they return, it cannot be taken down. But it says, it's telling you right there, when Jerusalem, who controls Jerusalem? Jerusalem's capital of what? It's not the Arabs. It's not the Lebanese. That's Syrians. It's false Israel. They control Jerusalem, and Jerusalem is their capital. So when we see Jerusalem surrounded by armies, know its destruction is near. It means it's going to be destroyed. It's telling you right there. So they can't be the true seed of Abraham. And we see it. That's going to send shockwaves through the world, and they're going to send shockwaves through America specifically. And that's going to say when that happened, that when they stood on their feet, that's when that happened. That's what we're talking about. So great fear came upon them. That's the great fear that come upon the earth. That's going to shock you. Because now you true seed Abraham. Not only that's going to shock you, but the fact that these people are going to come down on you because now they realize that you causing all these problems. You're the reason. And that's when you're going to wake up. That's now people come together. Four winds blow. People suddenly come together. And in that sense, I'm just going to close out, but I'm going to say something else real quick here, bosses. You know, we live in a pressure reality, period. Whether you like it or not, that's a fact. You talk, pressure waves. Music is pressure waves. You hear pressure. Your heart, pressure pump. Your lungs, pressure. The atmosphere is pressure. Everything is pressure. Your reproductive system is all based on blood pressure and everything else. It's all pressure, no exceptions. But you don't understand the power you have over the environment, over your atmosphere. We control the atmosphere, but you don't understand it. Okay? But you're going to understand in a few more days. Because you control it now, you just don't understand it. Because weather is based on pressure differentials. A wave, right, a breeze is a pressure differential. It means high pressure always moves towards low pressure. It's not a two-way street. High pressure always moves towards, and it destroys low pressure. That's what a wave is. When you have a differential, right, then the pressure moves a correction. That's a wave. Move to make the low pressure equal to the high pressure. Now it's calm. And you don't understand the fact you have on the atmosphere. See? So all the breeze right now, because when they kept us on a lower level mental pressure, because remember, your thoughts are pressure. I told you that. Force, you wouldn't be able to move your hand without force. Force is pressure. But you understand that. So when they kept us on the level of their brain, because remember, you produce pressure waves, right? Thought waves, pressure waves, right? But we didn't have many when we was in energy deprivation, because we didn't have enough energy to produce pressure waves that had any effect on anything. But now we're rising. So now we're producing pressure waves. And when we start getting power, learn how to turn that energy that we're getting into power, those pressure waves come more intense. How is that reflected? It's reflected in the weather. That's why the weather's getting crazy and crazy and crazy, because there's a pressure differential between the way we think and the way they're thinking. And the more that comes, the worse the weather difference is going to be. The worse it's going to be. Hurricanes, tornadoes, all those things are based on pressure waves. That's what's causing it. It's not the sun. The sun and the moon has some effects, but they don't cause tornadoes. The moon don't cause tornadoes. The moon don't cause hurricanes. It's you causing it. And they love this diversity thing. They understand that part of that diversity thing, because you got all these different cultures here. See, God kept us all separated. He kept all the nations separated, see, in their own place, so you have harmony. We start mixing up, you don't have harmony because you got pressure differentials all over the place, causing all kinds of erratic weather and everything. And then the fact they put that demon seed in there, so they got the exit problem. They got social unrest, everything else, but you got environmental. They think it's global warming. That has some of these things that has something to do with it, but also has something to do with other things too that they're not aware of. So I'm just letting you know that's what's causing, and the lessons tell you that to some extent too. That's what's causing all this. And it's getting worse, because as we rise, that's why we have to leave. We couldn't stay in peace if we wanted to. But we stay here, right? Like Farrakhan said, you want to stay and get 6 states and everything. We stay here. We'd have to dumb down to keep our pressure on that level. Otherwise, we kept rising, right? See, if we kept rising, then that means you're going to have greater differential. You have worse pressure. Dramatic. Yeah, I was going to a little detail that I just thought I'd mention that. You see, I know man, okay. You see, that's what's causing it. That's why it's getting more erratic. As we rise, and see, not only that, as we rise, they're declining, because they're getting away from they're losing power now, because they're getting away from the source of power. Source of power is righteousness, which is discipline. And discipline, where they're getting from the Bible, instead of getting away from that. Transgenderism, they can't tell what a woman is, all kind of stuff. They're losing their power, because energy, power is controlled energy. So they're losing and you control it by discipline. They're losing their discipline, so now their powers are fading. And our power, and they try to get through the same thing by trying to talk us into doing all kinds of stuff to frivolous with our energy, to abuse it, so we have no power either. And we rise, and now we have the energy to have power, but they're trying to teach you not to consolidate that energy into power. And you're going to do that in a few more days. If those don't do it, you're going to be destroyed. But you listen, you start, because you get 5 fundamental principles, mathematical principles of Islam, you start applying it, you start turning that energy into power. And when you turn that into power, they can't touch you, because high pressure always dispels low pressure. And they're low pressure minds. That means they can't touch you. That's why the Quran and the Bible says they can't touch you anyway, can't harm you in any kind of way. once you're on the right course, once your pressure exceeds theirs, they can't touch it because it doesn't go both ways. High pressure always goes towards low pressure, destroys low pressure. Hope you understand, brothers and sisters. We're going to leave it there. Let me talk to my audio audience here. Close them out first. See here. Sisters. Okay, audio audience. Thank you for listening. This is the Black Alert statement. Fire zone out. And for my video audience, thank you for listening. To my Rahim, mention of covenant, breaking 7 seals. Remember the Holocaust. Don't let them tell you about this slavery stuff. See, that's just a small part of it. Hope you understand, brothers and sisters. Assalamu alaikum.